Women's Voice, weekdays on GBC 24 at 4 p.m. and on Mondays on GTV at 4 p.m. Women's Voice, articulating the issues affecting women and sharing their unique stories with the rest of the world.
Hello, many thanks for joining us. This is Women's Voice. My name is Selikem Akolache Apalu. Today on the program, we will be looking at healing emotional scars from the past. Yes, it may sound abstract, but we've just finished the first quarter of a new year. However, many of us are holding back feelings, hurts, pains from our past. Those feelings over time become burdens on us. We may not be able to fully help you recover with this program just today, but we're hoping that we can use the platform to urge you to start a process of healing emotionally. We're going back in the past to those hurts that have affected us. We'll be doing that with a man who has had training in healing of memories. He'll be assisting us heal the parts of ourselves that are really broken. I have a personality who is well known for helping individuals with their brands. He has 3 books to his credit. He's passionate about personality development and transformation. Of course, my guest is an author, inspirational speaker, transformational coach, and also CEO of the Zoe Global Consult. Skofre Nanaya Oyeboah is here with us. Many thanks for coming once again to the platform.
Yeah, it's humbling to be here.
Healing emotional scars from the past. It sounds abstract, but I know you've had training in the healing of memories.
Yeah.
What exactly, why should we be healing memories?
Well, Sally Kim, I want to say a very good evening to your cherished viewers and also to salute Dr. Fulata Moyo, World Council of Churches. Today is your birthday, I greet you. Then also to my fellow South Africans. Sally Kim, in my area of pursuit, when it comes to transformational coaching, one aspect that endeared me to human development is the healing of memories. So when the opportunity came for me to go and take that training, I had nothing of excuse to say I wouldn't go, so I did. What actually interested me to even pursue that area of training is that I found out in my coaching career and practice that there is an aspect of the human memory in connection with the emotions and hurts of the past that facilitates them to become what we see them doing. So one needed the requisite skill and tool to be able to lead people back into the journey of their past and help them to gravitate towards fixing and finding space of healing to be able to become the best of themselves. So basically, the Healing of Memories is a program started by Institute of Healing of Memories, directed by Father Michael Lapsley. This man suffered a letter bomb in 1990, as it is for Freedom's Day in South Africa.
Right.
Lost his 2 arms, eye, and everything. How did he recover from that shock? And they have been able to develop a methodology that has been tested by the South African system and across the globe, from UN to any big platform you're in the world, to give people the ability to heal what have hurt them so that they can function better. If many people are going to take pain and allow themselves to feel vulnerable to handle the things that they've missed in their past or in their upbringing, in their growing process, they will function more and better and efficiently than they think of themselves now.
Right. This is Women's Voice. You can also join us if you have any questions, or as you listen to us or watch us along the line, you have comments. We'll put it to our guest here in the studio. The number is up on your screen. 0245780116 is the number. You can send us a text or WhatsApp. Unfortunately, we cannot take your calls, but all your concerns will be addressed. The past is something that many people are not comfortable going back to. Is it not best to have the past buried where it is?
Amazingly, the past is never buried. That is the gospel truth. The psychologist and psychotherapist will tell you the past is never buried. But when you go through the right training, you get the strength and ability to face the past and now use it even as a stepping stone to move on. The human brain is a recorder. The human brain is a programming tool. So whatever happens to you gets hidden somewhere. It has not
It's
fade.
recorded somewhere.
Yes, somewhere, part of your brain. Then the challenge thing is that when you think that it is gone, once you've not treated and handled it, it begins to bear certain fruits, and you now decide to take care of the symptoms instead of the seed cause. Instead of the seed cause. So this is why it is very prudent that you take and meet the qualified people to help you facilitate the ability to face what I call the ugliness of yourself.
You're saying there are consequences for not dealing with our hurts from the past?
Absolutely. It is obvious in our daily lives. Most of the challenges we see in society, it's not because they happen out of vacuum. It is the repercussion, it's the consequences of situations that were not handled in the past. Now, let me cite one example.
Right.
When that gentleman feels so masculine and believes that under peer pressure, when you meet a woman in the quiet, you can forcibly have your way with her. And it happens. That moment he feels, yeah, I'm a man, I'm masculine, I've proven my worth as a man. The deposit of scar you've left in the life of that woman, you have no idea. You create a certain sense of lack of self-worth. So as a woman, is that all that I am worth? Where is my worth as a woman? Now that lady, if she's not able to go through proper and structured healing process and therapy, might forget that, oh, I've even forgiven him of a sort. But deep down the brain, the scar of lack of self-worth is scratched. So somewhere along her life, she exhibits that lack of self-worth and self-love. And it will play out in every aspect of her life. But it will be buried in the consciousness that, oh, it's okay, move on. But until it is dealt with, then you go back into the life of that young man who perpetrated that act. You go back into his life and you realize that in the home he grew up, the father exhibited masculinity by beating the mom, by shushing people in the home, so that when daddy is coming, everybody must hide. So you must exert a certain effort or energy to prove that you are a man. So you can trace what is happening to our homes and our past experiences. So that is why it is very important to face your ugliness and your challenges. There are people, I met a beautiful woman recently on the show, and she said, I know I shout, and I took it from my mom. Today, the children can, Mommy, you can shout, Papa. And she says, I know, I'm trying to fix it. But between her teenage and formative years, where the actual thing took place, it was not dealt with to see that she herself is an individual and has her own uniqueness to develop the best she is. But today, her children are feeling it. Something that they had no room or created. This is a woman who is astute in her field, in every endeavors. But she shouts. The repercussion is that the children are also possibly going to grow and start shouting at their kids.
And then it will be a chain.
A cycle. That is why it is very prudent. Let's say in class 1, class 2, a teacher says something about you. You worth nothing. The words alone is not what matters, but how the child took it and felt. This child will grow feeling worthless for the rest of her life until she meets or encounters help. There are people who commit crime, and it's not because they're not good people, but their foundation have been laid that they only witness violence in their home.
And so they perpetrate violence.
So they perpetuate violence. So what do you think it is lost? It's imprinted beneath the human mind until that safe environment is created for it to be perpetuated. And you do it with ease. So healing of memories is a powerful tool that when we all choose, it is not also a joke. It is not easy, because to face your yesterday is just like trying to turn your neck. But when you are able to go through a structured system, you realize that it is better to have faced your yesterday in moving forward, because it is critical. Like
you brought up something about, not to cut you, but you brought up something about child abuse, for instance, having repercussions on you, the individual who suffered from that abuse. How much does a problem like child abuse, a scar like child abuse, affect the life of a person?
Selikem, my training proved that the greatest of all the scars of the human involvement is between the formative ages, from 6 to 12, where the brain can actually record properly. But unfortunately for you and I, our generation, our kids, their brains start developing at the age of 2. I call them the Android babies. So they begin to record and store from the age of 2. Now, it's the human brain is like a point I've said. When you put a bag, like a virus to it, the abuse is like a virus. You bag it. Now, when the brain is bagged and it hits the emotional cord of the child, it records forever. Like I'm saying, like a child who is designed in nomenclature to be an extrovert is raised in a home that is structured to tame talent, structured to tame people, to look like prisoners. You force that child's nomenclature to become an introvert. And this thing affects the child the rest of his life or her life. Timidity, the same way it is nurtured. Now, how a woman will learn to respect the beauty of a home is also learned from that particular point. How a young man will respect that we don't lay a hand on a woman, it starts from that point. To make somebody feel worthless, it starts from that point. That comment you passed when you were angry, because you have not dealt with your past, so you don't even know the value and the danger of the words you are uttering. You amount to nothing. I wish you dead. I don't even know how come I took seed of you. You set the child on a path that, is she my mom? If indeed she is and she says, I worth nothing, then it is true. I am worth nothing. And that person, until that person deals with the past of where the mom learned to say, okay, I forgive myself because I did not have control over what my mom said. Then I can now forgive my mother so that I can move on. I remember one of the documentaries that we watched.
Right.
The guy said the absence of a father and the absence of the lack of a mother caused him to begin to hate. The hatred for the absence of a father caused hatred, and now to exert and exercise hatred, he became a serial killer. By certain structures he went through. Lack of father control. Lack of motherly love. Lack of these two things. To him, that was what struck his emotional chord. Perhaps when he goes to school and he is asked about the father, if he is told your father is no more, it is one thing. Than when knowingly the father exists and you say he does not exist, and one day somehow it pops up in the conversation somewhere. You've stabbed him in the back.
But life is unfair in so many ways. And we go through unfair experiences as we move along the line. Some people grow up blaming, like you're saying. It's easy in that scenario where you have a mom constantly shouting on their child. It's easy for that child as a grown-up to say that, look, I came from a home where every time words were hurled at me instead of being talked to. So really, it's not your fault.
Absolutely. But we must understand that the human being has the tendency to perpetuate evil and also provide goodness. When you come to that state of consciousness, then you realize that then there is something you must do with what you didn't even have control over. Now, if you are able, you have the knowledge of what has happened to you, it is one thing. But to acknowledge that that thing that happened to you have had a dire effect on you is also another.
How do you know?
And it is that point where you begin to find support or help.
How do you know?
And when your child told you, Mom, you are shouting too much, did you enjoy it? When the young man, you know that you molested that lady, she entrusted you with herself and you molested her. Do you know the long impact that you've deposited in her? That sense of lack of self-worth, and the most painful ones are when they even take seed out of that ordeal. And they need to consistently look at the face of the child from an abuse. The child becomes a constant reminder of that pain. That woman will fake smiles, but you could feel in her structure of doing things that something is amiss. So though it is not your fault, but the first point where when you get help, we work on is to make sure that we take away the blame game.
So don't blame your parents.
It's important.
Don't blame whoever has hurt you.
It's important. That is the point. People go like, no, for me, I agree with when the law says, okay, let the law take its effect. Period. I agree. But in my area of trade, I believe in restorative justice. That every human being have the potential of being good. But when the goodness is back from the formative age or something happening in between, the person becomes a perpetrator. We are all at the same wavelength. The person who comes to you said, take time and ask yourself, your lack of self-love and self-worth makes you to hurt men consistently because one man foolishly hurt you. So because you did not remedy it, those who are genuinely real with you, you could not even see it. Because beneath your subconsciousness, every man is a monster. Unfortunately for you, you have a child who is a boy.
Yes, let's
How
just
are
say
you
in
going
that
to
case,
raise a male figure which your brain already is against because of that horrible experience you have? They begin to fight. It's so difficult to raise a son. They are too difficult. But because there is a part of you you've not dealt with, though you did not have control over, most often than not, the victimizer have no control over whatever happened. But what you have control over is the point where you say, I want these things to stop so that I can have the best of my life.
when those attributes have become inherent in you, like you were saying in that scenario where the mother admitted that she's shouting because of this, but she's still doing it anyway because of experience, because of observance over the years and what the treatment she got. So if it becomes inherently part of you, how do you get to deal with it? Because it becomes a basis for forming your own behavior as a person and personality as a person, by the way.
One of the powerful tools that aid healing is the act of self-forgiveness. Is the act of identifying and admitting that these things I did not deal with have traveled with me all this while. I thought that the situation, I thought that this experience was because of the guy wasn't good, the lady wasn't good. But perhaps it's not about the girl, it's not about the guy, but it's perhaps about me. So you need to ask for help. And the challenge we have now is that we really don't like to ask for help. We think that it's inferior to ask for help. We think that to go and see the psychiatry is demeaning yourself. It means that when you go and see the psychotherapist to go for therapy, it means you are weak. No, you are seeking for help because the human development, aiding yourself to be able to go through things that stops you from being the best of yourself, is seeking for help.
Doesn't it take acknowledging that, for instance, in that case of going to the psychiatrist, that you are mentally ill to go?
No, you see, it is the misconception we have about psychotherapy. It's a misconception.
Yes, and I'm saying that don't you have to accept that you have a problem?
No, accepting the problem does not make you mentally ill.
Okay.
We don't go to the coach, we don't go to the psychiatrist, we don't go to the psychotherapist because you have a mental disorder. That is a clinical situation. But where you feel that you are not functioning at your utmost.
So when you know, when you accept that this is where we are coming from.
Absolutely. That's the acknowledging part of the challenge is where the actual process of getting help comes from.
And this is where my question comes in. How do you even acknowledge or accept that I have issues to deal with?
Sally Kim, every human being can be honest and attest to the fact that we all identify our flaws. We all identify our flaws. The only challenge is sometimes you're unable to connect the symptom you are seeing to a past event. So it is when you say, okay, I think I need help about this situation. It is when you come to me, then I put you through certain structures and certain coaching space. Then you go like, oh, now I understand where all this thing is coming from. And the moment you can fish out the root cause, you begin to treat the root cause than the symptom. But I must caution, it is not instantaneous for everybody. It's not instantaneous for everybody.
It takes time to discover.
Some you grow to wear it off. Some you grow to wear it off. Because when one seed is like, when the seed of hatred is sown,
the repercussions of hatred is not even the seed itself. You are quick to anger. You don't want to be a team player. You want to always be seen as you are the one doing it all. Like in homes where when you have 2 kids and always one demands for whatever the other is holding, you're like, that person is developing the sense of I must always have it my way all the time.
Because their behavior is being reinforced.
Absolutely. Then the one that it's always taken away from feels like I don't matter in this family. Even when it is mine, it is taken away from me. Then the seed of lack of self-worth. So it is when the person identifies that I feel that even when I can do the thing, I don't have the courage to get it done. When I look at my mom, I don't feel the energy I think she must exert. When I look at my dad, so these two even that I have cited, both are going to grow in different shapes, forgetting about what actually the seed was and looking at the symptoms. Like in homes where we segregate, you have 3 kids. The mom loves the last born, the dad loves the second born, and the firstborn is left afloat. The firstborn grows. By the time he gets to about 15 years, you can feel a gross distance between himself or herself and the 2 other siblings. And it shapes like that.
Parenting has a role.
Absolutely.
Here.
But if the parent themselves don't even know they have scars they have to deal with, or they pretend they don't have scars to deal with, they unconsciously misplace those seeds into their children. And before you realize, the bufu said papa. But perhaps he was not, perhaps in design, he shouldn't be like the father.
In situations where something was perpetrated on you, like in this case of anger, and maybe you grew up in a home where you constantly saw anger, and it's something you've wanted to walk away from, and yet you find yourself all grown up doing the same thing, exactly what you've been trying to avoid. Why does that happen, even when you're conscious that I want to avoid this?
There is one thing about the human brain. Emotions are connected to certain actions. Emotions are connected to certain environment. We call them the triggers. So anytime there is availability of the trigger, it will happen, even though you know you're not supposed to be angry. But because you have not dealt with it, you've not gone through anger management. That's what I'm saying, that when you
for us, what is anger management?
No, because we don't know.
How many of us know about anger management?
Because we don't know. Even there is therapy for anger management. There is therapy for that. Because when you identify and you acknowledge that, no, this thing is not helping me to the peak of my interest, you have to go and seek for anger. So you realize that you are giving structures where instead of the thing, you would have allowed it to happen. Just like saying that your father will tell you, the moment you realize that you're having an argument with your wife and you are boiling, you just lift up your shirt, put it on your shoulders, and walk out. By the time you come back, you would have, all the 2 of you would have calmed down. And by the time you come back, one of you would have been able to garner the ability to calm both of you down. The same way, systems I put in place to manage your anger, like anxiety. There are times you look at your audience and go like, oh, what should I do? Then the little therapy you know, the little public speaking techniques you know, it's okay, pick one person you feel comfortable to look at their face. That is why it's always easy to go with somebody you feel comfortable with to your biggest event, so that the person becomes your focal point. You look upon their head and connect to the person.
Well, that's a great tip.
Okay, for free. So these are the things that when you go for help, there are times even you need to cry, but not the usual cry you have been crying about the same thing. You are allowed to cry in connection to how to cross over. All this while you have been crying in brooding, in nurturing the hurt.
In the pain.
Yes. But the next time you go to certain structures and you could feel like, oh, so even the crying, there are 2 different kinds. Because one is therapeutic and one enhances the situation.
Let me begin to take the messages coming in so that we can address the issues as we go along. Good afternoon. Please tell your resource person, Alfred, NKD, says hi. Okay.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
And this one says, how do you deal with it when it keeps happening? For example, over a decade, a husband's actions only causes you pain. How do you heal from that? He apologizes, but does the worst the next time. On Easter Sunday, when you know he's in a different town, He has been blackmailed by a young girl he has been with, who then took his wallet for an amount. How does the wife deal with it? And who do we blame for this? Okay, this is very narrative. So I don't know whether it's your situation or, but let me read it again. It says that if that person's actions keeps happening, okay, and then a husband only causes you pain, how do you heal from it? He apologizes, but it becomes worse the next time. On Easter Sunday, when you know he's in a different town, he's been blackmailed by a young girl he has been with, who then takes his wallet for an amount. How does the wife deal with that? And
Well,
who is to be blamed?
Well, you know, from the onset, I said that the word blame itself is a fertile soil to keep growing in past pain.
Okay.
So I don't treat or deal with the word blame.
Okay.
Then I must also admit, some of these things we are quick looking for instantaneous results.
She says over a decade.
Exactly. The tree, you plant something, it has now grown to 10 years, and you want an instant result. It has grown crooked for 10 years. You want an instant result to straighten it. You will break it. So this is where you need to admit that both of you need help.
Okay.
That is the bottom line. Both of you need help. But the beautiful thing is that the one who identifies that something isn't right can easily become a tool for the healing process. When the person himself or herself allow herself to be vulnerable to go through the processes, when he or she seeks help, when you realize that you have now gotten the tools enough to be able to aid the facilitation of the person also seeking help, you say, okay, you know what? I understand. We are going to go through this together. Then you move away from judgment and go like, this is where we need real help. Then you work towards it and you seek help.
So you communicate with your husband,
Yes.
for example, because this is someone who you're sharing the rest of your life with,
But be careful.
but keeps hurting
His
you.
consistent hurt have also created something within you. It has started growing. So animosity in the home start also growing. It is the truth. From her write-up, you can tell that it is growing. Like she's at the point of giving up. She's even tired. So she must put herself through the cleansing moment, the bleaching moment to work with the hurt and everything before she can also seek for help for the husband. When she is being able to deal with this, and sometimes these situations trigger certain things in our lives that we have forgotten about. It becomes like our mirror. That what exactly am I seeing? It's like when you've dealt with a drunk dad, a drunk mom, a drunk something, then you come across that same scenario, or you begin to find yourself wallowing in alcohol.
Exactly.
And you go like, where is this thing coming from? Because it is so easy. The brain is allowing itself to work, but you only see the symptoms that the root cause. So it has been passed on onto you. Unconsciously, it is embedded. So it is the symptoms that you want to use to trace the cause of the whole situation. So it is important you seek help. That is why we will keep on saying, seek help. Look for professional help. The act of wanting to even look for help itself is healthy. The identifying that I acknowledge I need help is healthy. People are committing suicide and we say like, oh, you shouldn't have committed suicide over this thing. The tolerance level of each other to translate through hurt is different. I can't sit here and claim that I have gone through all my hurt and I'm healed. It's a journey. It's a process. But the beautiful thing is that when you're able to deal with one root cause, that experience and capability allows you to deal with others when they begin to pop up.
Okay.
And the more you grow, the more you master.
This one says, as long as I try to be friendly and sound cool and calm to my kids, I always end up seeing my mom in me, shouting and screaming at even the little things. Okay, you mean you see your mom in you, but you try to be friendly and cool, even though your mom was shouting and screaming at you. Maybe you can clarify that for us so that we get a better understanding.
I think if I got her right, she sees whatever the mom did to her, she sees herself doing the same thing to the children. So it's like she sees her mom doing the same thing to her children or her grandchildren. So now that is where she is. I can tell her, seek help. After this, you can call me. Let's travel through this. It does not mean that you are coming to look for instantaneous and miraculous hit. It becomes a process. When you identify them, the things that triggers, the things that you've not, sometimes we are, a part of the brain is still holding on to the hurt of unforgiveness of the situation.
Forgiveness here plays a big role.
Absolutely.
You talked about forgiving yourself. How do you come to forgive the other person who's hurt you or who continues to hurt you in some cases?
So every now and then we say we need to build immune systems. And you don't build an immune system one day. Your system in the tender age
you
is
resist
different.
being hurt? What are you talking about?
No, that. You build immune systems, so that is why your car has shocks. That is why your car has gotten shocks. Because there will definitely be times where you hit the pothole. And it is the shock that reduces the impact. Not that it takes away the impact. The shocks reduce the impact. It does not take away the impact. So that is why it is prudent for you to seek help and understand what you want. Because forgiveness, if I don't have self-forgiveness, you can never give away something you don't have. You can only give away something you have. It does not also mean that, oh, Father, I pray that forgiveness and boom, is forgiven. No way.
Yes.
I watched a documentary during the training about forgiveness done by BBC in the church, and it is horrible. It is horrible.
Why?
Because it is as the same sick people who enter the church. We go with our brokenness, but because it is one thing going through a spiritual cleansing and that thing going through therapeutic cleansing, they are two different things.
Forgiving the person, telling yourself you've forgiven them,
One
should be
thing
good enough.
No. One thing I encourage is that don't quickly forgive in an instant.
Why not?
Because sometimes others have that capability. That one is real. Others too. Okay, I look at Selika, I feel shy of her. I look at my in-law, I feel shy. Okay, I've forgiven. But in reality, you know you have not forgiven.
Within you.
Yeah, exactly. So that moment, when you have gone through series of training or series of therapeutic coaching, you go like, I will not sit here and pretend I can forgive instantly. I acknowledge that you people want the best for me and whatever is happening. Let me push myself through to be able to cleanse. Even that statement and that period alone is part of the process. So when you were able to forgive yourself, why you were raped, why you were shouted at, why your teacher said that you amount to nothing, while you were molested, all the forms of abuses, whether from the infants to where you are now, when you acknowledge what has happened and say that I don't want to carry this venom along with me, because bitterness itself is too heavy to carry with your body. If you put women...
What does it do to you when you carry,
let me give you a typical
carry
example.
bitterness along with you?
Women understand this better. Do you know that there are times when anxiety sets in heavily, you begin to flow? There are times when something happens and anxiety sets in heavily and you get startled, you begin to flow.
You mean you have your period?
Yes.
Yes.
Where does that come from? So this is how our emotions connect to our biological clocking as a human being.
And our bodies?
Yes. So when you keep on to bitterness, if that thing that hit you could make you flow, and that seed is sown, it's allowed to nurture, I can tell you, even your skin won't flourish better. Because the brain that needs to connect with your skin to flourish better is backed with bitterness and hurt and hatred. So it won't flourish better. Some of the women who complain about their hair, it's not because there's a problem with the hair per se. There's a problem with the part of your body that must allow your body to flourish.
Must allow your hair to grow. Eh?
Yes. So you must, the thing is here. It is there. So until it is dealt with, the brain does not have that space to facilitate your body to nourish better because of hatred. Productivity can be low because of bitterness. Your wife hurts you from the house, you frown your face, you get to the office, something you need not to be angry about before you realize you are going ballistic in your office.
Carrying on the anger.
Staff are from the home. Then the woman got screamed at her by the boss at the office. She's self-worth. She gets home. The fact that the husband is also a masculine figure, the easiest target, then she downloads onto him.
So where do you download?
But the downloading, everybody must have the space that can aid them to download. Somebody's own is to sing. Somebody is to go into the shower, put the shower on and just scream their heart out. Somebody's own is to play certain song that hits their innermost person to take things away.
So you're saying that find another channel to deal with your anger or your
Absolutely.
pain
Absolutely.
rather than hurting another person.
The moment you are conscious of the fact that if I don't find a space to download this, I'm going to infest another person with the bitterness I'm not happy about. That state of consciousness itself is part of healing. It's part of acknowledging that this thing, like the hurt of divorce, you get to the point where you realize that, okay, we want to call it a break. But there are byproducts, the kids.
Exactly.
How do we make sure that our breakup does not? Because Sally Kim, kids that are raised from homes where the parents are conscious of all the things we are discussing right now, they are healthy. The kids are healthy. They don't go to the hospital by heart because the environment is serene for them to grow. These kids grow to become very good leaders. They grow to become very good spouses. They grow to become very good team players because they understand. And when they enter an environment where everybody else comes from homes of this nature we are discussing, they feel very uncomfortable.
About the home, we're in a time where a lot of the parenting is done using the assistance of a nanny or a help. How do you ensure that your children do not carry on the negative attributes of that nanny or that help? I mean, that's women carry out.
I think that we are in a critical stage of our lives, and we must admit that. Like I said, unfortunately for you and I, our kids are Android babies. Their intelligence is so high. The way the IQ, it's so smart and swift. So in your busy schedule, design the place where you can spend quality time with the children. If anything has gone amiss in a period of time, you will see it. If suddenly your vociferous child, the hanky-panky, itty-bitty child, begins to go timid, question, probe, don't gloss over it. Don't leave the TV and the nanny alone in raising their kids. Don't say you are too busy. Because, but I said this thing somewhere recently on the sister station that they are your pension. Your children are your pension. But the time where you go like, oh, this is the time you need their compassion. Because you've not developed, you've not invested compassion into them, you won't have it in your old age.
They won't come to you.
They won't come to you because nothing connects the two of you. Nothing.
Let's take some more messages. This one says, I'm Raymond, big up, I like your show. Okay, big up. Thank you for the big ups. This one says, I'm Nero, student in maths. I love your show. Keep it up. And also greetings to my teachers, say Obodi, Papa Key and Key. Papa Key and what? And Kochi.
Okay.
That's from Nero. My Lord give you long life. Big ups to us two boys.
Oh, okay, I think to the school.
Okay, so that's your school then. Okay, this one says okay, you tried to come back. The earlier message we were talking about the husband's actions affecting the wife. Okay, this is the person is clarified now and saying that they witnessed that scenario when they were growing up. Now she is married to. She is married and has children. Okay, and let me go over the question again. So, when you see your father and your mother always in scenarios where your father is always hurting your mother to the extent that they cheated and then they have someone blackmailing them, you watch that, and now you grew up with that pain. How do you deal with the pain? That was the question now.
This is why I'm saying that I cannot sit here and declare that, oh, forgive. No. If you call, we can schedule and go through this process together. Because healing is not instantaneous.
Takes time.
It takes time. And it varies from one person to the other. Somebody when goes through maybe the first layer of coaching, breaks down, get the results needed, and the person begins to run. Even that one, it's my job as a coach, that every coachee of mine, once in a while, you get a call from me. I monitor all my coachees to make sure that I work with you to the greater potentials of your life.
Okay.
So she should call after the show and let's talk.
Okay. Is it good? It is good when you identify and forgive yourself and others. Fall in love with God. That's coming from Princess. This one says, hello, Women's Voice. I'm Richard. I'm enjoying your show. Thank you very much, Richard. This one, I'm Albert. I like your dress. Big up to all KSTS old boys. Who are the KSTS old boys? Well, they seem to be watching. Okay, well, this one says, please, I can't forget the past and forgive. Help me. I like your show.
Well, I think after the show, when I put my number across, whoever I had asked could call.
Are there?
Because there are some things.
Are we all capable of forgiveness? In this scenario, I can't forgive. I can't forget.
Sometimes it is when you've not gone through a certain process that makes you talk like this. But I also know there are people who says that, well, like Father Lashley says that I received a letter bomb. Till date, I don't know who sent me the letter bomb, though I know it's a pirate system. Yes, Father Lashley, the one who created all this healing memories structure, has no hands, lost one eye, lost one ear because of letter bomb. Now, he says that, and I love that, I don't know who is there for me to forgive.
So in that case, there's no one to forgive.
So who is there to forgive? But I have forgiven myself. So I would rather spend time in growing in forgiveness with myself than having no one to forgive. That is why I'm able to do what I do. That is why I'm able to come up with such structures to put some of you through to also become facilitators in helping people to heal. So it is prudent that you allow yourself to go through a process that you can heal.
Okay. How important is it to build bridges with people who have hurt you in the past? Is it necessary? Can't you just avoid them?
There is a gentleman's story that I love best. Or there is also one story with the World Trade Center breaking down, and the woman said, America shouldn't go to war in the name of my child or in the name of my son. The person is still an American. But I said, America shouldn't go to war in the name of my son. Shouldn't.
That's someone who lost his son
exactly
in the 9/11 attacks.
Yes. Somebody says, no way we should avenge the death of our children. There are two different people from the same country. Individual strength. Individual strength in dealing with these shocks, like I'm saying. When you know you've gone through a therapy before for something that connects to hurt or pain, when something else happens, your ability to contain it will be lighter compared to somebody who have never experienced that shock before. I have a classmate that I always want to remember his experience. I wish back then I had acquired all these tools to have helped him. When the guy lost the mother, that was all. We lost our brother. He never came back to normality by the death of her mother. So you see how the investment of the mother's love could turn the life of my brother around.
That being snatched away created a shock.
A shock because the mother was everything he knows in his life.
But about the question I was asking, do you necessarily have to build bridges?
Building bridges
after you forgiving.
Building bridges is part of the process. It's true. I always keep telling people, you know what? There are, most often than not, you build your part of the bridge. What you cannot do is the other side of the bridge. You can't build it because you're not a person. You can only build your part of the bridge.
So reach out.
Reach out if I have offended you. Mine, in wanting to complete my therapy or my process of healing, is to say, okay, if I cannot have the courage to come to you, I can write. There was this war that happened, I think, in Japan, at a British and a Japanese, I think American, and the one who perpetrated the crime had carried the guilt all this while, and the one who suffered the process has also carried the hurt all this while, till he said, okay, let me reach out. It was then that he realized
reached out?
The guy, the victimizer.
The one who victimed.
He took the step and met the one who perpetrated the pain on him. And he said, you don't know how all this will have carried this guilt and shame. Today, even if you kill me, it will be my joy that I've been able to express that I have carried this pain all this while for what I put you and your people through.
So the person who went through the pain rather went to the person who had
No, he had gone to avenge.
but some way, somehow, couldn't do with that. Okay, what I feel the pain of. You see the beautiful thing about healing. What I'm feeling the pain of, I'm now going to perpetuate it onto somebody. Forget about the person being the one who did it to you, but the fact that he's a human being. And they became the best of friends.
This one says, to me, to hurt is nothing, but to remember is something. I agree with the man. You only have to forgive. I like the program. That's coming from Dede Ama. This one says, you people are doing a great job. God bless you, from Sisi Kumasi. The next one says, Alfred says, during my childhood stages, even right to my adolescent stage, I saw my dad beat my mom. But I'm now of age and hate to see a man beat a woman. Shouldn't it be the other way round, per your submission? I want to know.
He is fortunate.
He hates to see that now.
Yes, because a part of the pain has built up the quest not to love what he saw. It has not, possibly doesn't even mean he has even overgrown it. But until the environment which I call trigger comes in, you cannot say that you cannot perpetuate it. You cannot say. So I don't know if he is married, and until this space of time he has never done what he saw his father doing. Then I say he is done well. And it's a state of conduct. I'm saying that individual tenacity in resolving past hurt varies from one person to the other. There's another person of his age made the same scenario, and the person started beating girls. From that thing, they become so stubborn, they become so vociferous in anything they do because of that thing that they experience. So to him, I'll say kudos. If he has the capability, he should help others. But those who need proper coaching must seek for help. I have experienced a lot of things, and my training have helped me to become the better of myself. To now be, my trainer will say, healing of the wounded healers.
Does it make you whole, that healing process? Does it make you whole again, or there's something still there?
It makes you whole. It does not mean you cannot remember. It makes you whole, but it does not mean you cannot remember. The very thing that possibly you used to remember 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that you could have done certain things. Now you remember and go like, hey, I never knew I could cross this bridge. That's it. You go like, hey, I never knew I could cross this bridge. It is because you've worked on the bridge to get it better than how it was left lanky to be wobbling and stuff. So it is important that you seek help. Forgiveness is part of the process. Ability to also connect to whoever perpetrated the crime. That is why to some of us, not everybody, prison necessarily shouldn't have been a punishment. It should have been a space to reform the people.
Isn't that the whole idea?
No, because to reform something, you need to put certain structures in place to help the reformation. I remember one scenario where the serial killer, actually a suicide bomber, said to himself, I'm not going to give an excuse. I was 17. I'm not going to give an excuse with my age. That is taking responsibility. I'm not going to say prison toughened me, so I'll go and tell the prison story. No. I'm challenging myself to make up for what I have done to people. And he set himself on the path of healing. He actually got helped by someone who himself had been a serial killer. So the process of healing is cardinal. The chaos we see in our society, it is the duplication and the practicality of the hurt people have suffered.
If, for instance, you've suffered hurts, and it's something that you've kept in your past, you've kept it as a secret, to heal yourself, do you have to talk about it?
Talking. It's not just the act of what we are doing now. It is when your talking is put in a particular structure and it is triggered for you to be able to talk to somebody. I'm telling you, there is power in talking, there is power in listening. One thing I love so much is about stop listening with your ears when it comes to situations. Listen with your heart. If you go with your ear, judgment will set in. And when judgment sets in, the environment that must create space for healing get distorted.
How do you listen with your heart? What are we talking about?
That is a strategy. You must be trained. That is why you must go to people and seek help, people who have that training. Because the person that you think cannot break down, giving the right atmosphere of trust and confidentiality, which is the cradle of my career or my job, the person can reform. Sometimes some people say, I needed somebody just to hear me. You, that the person wants you to hear, you yourself, you carry your own challenges and you don't even know. So the moment the person begins to tell you A, B, C, D, then it triggers something in your past. Then you say, man, the way they are wicked. Man, the way they are bad. Man,
and let me read out this comment. The man of Makra says, I was once hurt some years ago, and now I find it difficult to love. And when I love, it is but for a moment, and after that, the feeling is lost.
So this is an honest example that mine have cited, because he has not dealt with it. Let's say, for instance, it is when I dig deep into his life, I can tell, or we will find out something he is trying to use to replace wanting to love. If it's not excessive sex, it could be excessive alcoholism, or it could be excessive isolation. It could be something trying to find space to love. He's making attempt to love again, but because he's not dealt with the seed and the root cause of his inability to love and even sustain relationships, he goes and he backs out. But ask yourself, that woman, that girl, that you gave her hopes with the subject matter of love, and she entrusted her whole being into your hands, and you withdrew. What have you also done?
You also hurt her.
Absolutely. But that moment you don't even remember, because you still remember that of yours. It is when you are in the process of treating, you realize that, no, then I have done the same thing to people. Let me go back and make amends. Do you understand?
So in the process of not dealing with his own pain, he's inflicting pain
exactly
on other people.
Absolutely. Me, I can't love. So you treat anybody who shows you love anyhow. So the very thing you are not happy about, you are putting other people through. It's just like virus. When you put your pen drive in somebody's machine that is full of virus, you pick it, you plug it in somebody's machine, you leave it there. So until you go to a machine that has an antivirus and go like, Jack, here you cannot penetrate. Before you go like, oh really? So I have this virus after all. It is when you hit your wife, realize that I've become like my father. It is when you scream and use those words on your husband, your friend, your classmate, you go like, oh, I've become like my mother. Because until the environment projected itself, you didn't know it was even there.
You've talked about forgiveness, you've talked about building bridges. Let's look at getting past this, moving on to a more positive light, and what it looks like when you are able to deal with all these scars. To wrap up.
The beautiful thing about dealing with your past and healing your emotional wounds, whether still on the journey or having able to overcome it and grow, is that you become very efficient. The things you love doing and you can do, you do them to its peak. The fulfillment this time you gain, I keep saying, let me use a Christian for example. He said, I love God, but the bitterness is there. Where is God going to dwell? Where? Because he cannot occupy space with bitterness, hatred, jealousy. No wonder. It is the kind of things he does not want to dwell with. So forgiveness, having gone through the processes, gives you liberation. It helps you to face the things that you couldn't face. It gives you strength so that when you meet similar things, the impact is not the same like before. Or the impact does not compound the past. You go like, this thing that I've seen it before. It's okay. We will work it out. And people go like, you mean you're forgiving this person? You mean you but they don't know that it is more healthier for you to let it go, because in your past you've dealt with all the past. So now you have the experience to say, I mean, this thing I've seen it before. Shall I let it pass? You live long. Diseases that grow so much in where does pressure come from? Hypertension, all those stuffs. It comes from a lot of the seeds of hatred and pain and those that we've sown. Your headache will never go because you're holding on to something. So it liberates you yourself. It is healthy for you. You make sure that you don't deposit your tomorrow with the pain into your children, like I call it the pension, your pension scheme. You make sure that what you are not happy about, You don't repeat it in somebody else's cycle. So we all help for us to heal better so that we don't create a society we don't like. You think corruption began out of Pum? It is because some children and people were given entitlement to everything. Take it from him, you can take it. You can take it. No, it grows. That if I begin to steal one, I must steal 5 because it is my entitlement. And it is all part of why society creates this chaos. So seek help. After this, I think they can call, you can send those who need help, who need thorough coaching to go through some of their challenges. They can call, we schedule, go through it. I'm not very expensive, that one I can put it across. And we can work it out. And I know they will get the results they need. Seek help, seek help, seek help. It is healthy when you seek help. It is healthy when you initiate. When you begin to see your ugliness, don't run away. Some people can face their ugliness. Yes, it is fine, but don't run away. Still put yourself through. You become a refined person. That is how you boost your immune system to health.
Thank you very much, Skufri. Nanaya, your boy, it's always a pleasure having you here. We've been looking at healing scars from the past, emotional scars from the past, and you've been a wonderful resource here as we've been looking at these issues. He is, of course, an author. He has 3 books to his name, an inspirational speaker, transformational coach, and CEO of the Zoe Global Consult, sharing and spending time with us here on the program. Thank you so much once again. Before we go, our inspirational quote comes from Maya Angelou, African-American civil rights activist, and the quote says, "It is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to forgive everybody," unquote. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Selikem Akolache Apalu. Join us same time tomorrow.
It's about exposing the vulnerabilities women face.
You have to go to an occasion and people will be like, okay, look at this scary lady coming up. And it was so devastating for me at that time. And I just feel like, okay, if this is how the situation is going to be, then I have to accept myself. I have to embrace what I am.
It's about being ready to speak out for our own rights.
If you see a nice girl, then the assumption is that she enticed the man. What was she wearing? My dear, it does not matter what a young girl is wearing. It is not enough grounds for you to rape the girl.
We are always striving to reach the top, no matter what.
Every woman must know that she has a deep-seated strength. That strength that can put her over every hurdle. And that strength should actually encourage you to do more than you think you can do.
We are frank about who we are.
We all have something. No matter where you find yourself, let somebody remember you for something good, because you need to put yourself on the line, because some people have done it so that you can go to school, so you can have a voice, just to make sure that women's voices could be heard.
And in today's world, we do have a say.
Actually, they are dead drunk. We don't have a voice. With that voice, we can change the world. With that voice, we can take command of our broken communities.
Women's Voice, weekdays on GBC 24 at 4 p.m. and on Mondays on GTV at 4 p.m. Women's Voice, articulating the issues affecting women and sharing their unique stories with the rest of the world.